Welcome to this video where we're going to talk about coincidences in our lives. In life, we come across certain coincidences. One of the coincidences that probably happened to all of us is unexpectedly running into someone in a place where we never expected to find them. And sometimes these coincidences can get even stranger. Of course, the weirder the coincidence, the lower the chance it actually happens. Today, we're going to review 10 of the strangest coincidences in history. Why are these coincidences strange? Because you'll see for yourself the extremely small probability of the things that happened in the stories we're going to go through today. So let's begin. In 10th place, the Black Day of King Louis. King Louis XVI of France, when he was a child, specifically 6 years old, a fortune teller predicted that the 21st of every month would be an unlucky day for him. The king grew up and believed the fortune teller, so he cancelled all his duties and activities on the 21st of every month, meaning he stayed at home and never went out or did anything on that day. But as they say, caution can't change destiny. On June 21, 1791, the king and his wife were arrested during the peak of the French Revolution. On September 21, 1791, France abolished the monarchy that used to protect the king and turned into a republic. And finally, on July 21, 1793, King Louis XVI was executed by guillotine. It turned out that all his caution didn't help him, and truly the 21st was his worst day. In 9th place, what goes around comes around. There was a man from the US state of Texas named Henry Ziegland. In 1893, he decided to break up with his longtime girlfriend. In short, after the breakup, she fell into deep depression and committed suicide. When her brother heard the news, of course he exploded with rage and decided to take revenge. He grabbed a gun, went to Henry Ziegland's house, shot at him, and then shot himself, committing suicide. What he didn't know was that the bullet missed Henry by mere millimeters and lodged in a tree behind him. 20 years later, Henry decided to get rid of the tree in his yard by blowing it up because he couldn't chop it down himself. The problem was, the blast caused the bullet to fly, and it landed right in Henry's head. Yep, he died. In 8th place, the taxi. In Bermuda, 1975, a man was riding a motorcycle, and while he was making a turn at an intersection, he was hit by a taxi and died in the accident. A year later, the dead man's brother was riding the same motorcycle, made a turn at the same intersection, and was also hit by a taxi, and he also died. But the strangest part, the taxi that hit the first brother was the same car that hit the second one, and it had the same driver. And if that's not enough, the passenger in the car with the driver was the same passenger in both accidents. Imagine that. Even the passenger was the same. In 7th place, the Eton Boy. In the 19th century, the writer Edgar Allan Poe wrote a novel about 4 men who survived a shipwreck. After suffering greatly and starving, they drew straws, and the one who lost would be food for the others. The young man who lost was the youngest, and his name was Richard Parker. Of course, Richard turned into food for his companions. Yum yum. Years after this novel was published, a yacht called the Mignonette sank. 4 people survived in a very small lifeboat. After being trapped at sea and consumed by hunger, 3 of the older survivors killed the youngest boy among them, who was 17 years old, and ate him. Now, can you guess the boy's name? Yes, exactly. His name was Richard Parker, the same name as in the novel. Glory be to God. The surviving sailors were rescued, and during the investigation they confessed to their crime. Of course, they were sentenced to death. The author of the original story commented on this real event and said it was the strangest thing he had ever witnessed in his life. In 6th place, the Finnish twins. During a snowstorm in 2002 in Finland, 2 twin brothers were riding their bicycles, but sadly they were both hit by trucks and died. Now, what's so strange about that? Well, we're not talking about a single accident. These were 2 completely separate accidents. Both accidents happened on the same day, on the same street. The second accident occurred 2 hours after the first. Even stranger, the second brother didn't know his twin had died. They both died without knowing what happened to the other. In 5th place, the king's lookalike. In the year 1900, the king of Italy, Umberto I, went to a small restaurant to have dinner. He had a humble appearance, God bless. Anyway, the king was shocked when he saw the restaurant owner, who was an exact replica of him in face and build. After talking for a bit, they found even more similarities. Both were born on March 14, 1844. Both were born in the same city. Both were married to women named Margarita. And get this, the restaurant owner opened his restaurant on the same day Umberto became king. And if all of that isn't enough, in the same year, on July 29th, the restaurant owner was shot and died instantly. And also King Umberto was shot on the same day. And he too died. In fourth place, the twins. Twin stories never end. A lot of interesting events involve twins. Here's another fascinating one. The twins we're talking about are James Springer and James Lewis. These two were separated at birth and adopted by two unrelated families. Both families named the boys James. But the similarities don't stop there. Even though the twins weren't raised together, they lived strangely parallel lives. Both joined the police force. Both had professional carpentry skills. Both married women named Linda and had sons named James Allen. Both divorced and remarried women named Betty, and both had a dog named Toy. They discovered all this after finally meeting in 1979 at the age of 39. At least they didn't die on the same day like the Finnish twins or King Umberto and his lookalike. But who knows what could happen in the future? In third place, the same crime, 157 years apart. Barbara Forrest and Mary Ashford, two girls who lived in a small village called Ardington in the UK. Both were 20 years old when they were found raped and murdered. Here's the weird part. The two crimes were 157 years apart. The first crime was in 1817. The second was in 1974. But the bodies were found in the exact same place on the same date, May 27th, just separated by time. In the 1817 case, the suspect was named Thornton. And guess what? In the 1974 case, the suspect was also named Thornton. Both were found not guilty. In second place, a novel predicts the Titanic. After we looked at the Richard Parker story, here's another novel whose events matched reality. This one is by a writer named Morgan Robertson, titled The Wreck of the Titan. It tells the story of a huge, luxurious ship called the Titan, and it has a strange connection to the Titanic. First, an important fact. The novel was published in 1898. That's 14 years before the Titanic sank in 1912. After the Titanic disaster, people looked back at the book and found the events were eerily similar. First similarity, the ships' names, Titan and Titanic. Second, both were British ships. Third, both were described as unsinkable. Fourth, both ships were around 250 meters long. You might say, okay, those are small similarities. But wait, dear viewer, the weird part hasn't even started. In the novel, the Titan departed from Newfound Island, sank at midnight in April, about 600 meters from the island. In real life, the Titanic also departed from Newfound Island, sank at midnight in April, after traveling 650 kilometers. And the reason for the sinking? Collision with an iceberg, just like in the novel. All these similarities make you think, this can't be a coincidence. It makes you wonder, maybe someone wanted to bring the novel to life? Possible? In first place, Major Summerford. This story might be the unluckiest one, about the unluckiest person you'll hear about. We're talking about a man named Major Summerford. He was fighting in World War I in a place called Flanders in 1918. During the battle, he was struck by lightning, thrown off his horse, and became paralyzed from the waist down. 6 years later, he retired and moved to Vancouver, Canada. One day, he went fishing at a lake and got struck by lightning again, leaving the right side of his body paralyzed. 2 years later, by some miracle, he recovered and was able to walk again. But unlucky is unlucky. 4 years after that, he was hit by a third lightning strike and was fully paralyzed for the rest of his life until he passed away. But it didn't stop there. Even after his death, a fourth lightning bolt struck his grave, destroying the tombstone. I just wish someone would come to me now and say, I'm unlucky. I swear I'll show them what real bad luck looks like. In the end, thanks for watching the video. If you liked it, don't forget to support us with a like, subscribe, and share. Did you do it? Done? Yeah? That's what I like to see. Alright, see you in the next video.